Cellular respiration is the process where organic compounds oxidize in order to form large amounts of ATP. The three steps of cellular respiration are glycolysis, citric acid cycle, and oxidative phosphorylation. Sometimes, when there is no oxygen, only glycolysis will occur, resulting in lower amounts of ATP being formed. This is called fermentation.
The first stage of cellular respiration is glycolysis. Glycolysis is the process of taking away energy from glucose to split into pyruvates. Glycolysis has an energy-requiring phase and an energy-releasing phase. The steps are as follows. Phosphate is transferred from ATP to glucose. Glucose becomes fructose. ATP transfers phosphate to fructose. Fructose then splits into a 3-carbon sugar. The 3-carbon sugars are oxidized. NADA plus reduces to NADH and hydrogen ions, releasing energy. 3-carbon sugar donates a phosphate group to ADP, creating ATP, and due to instability, it donates another molecule, then becoming pyruvate. Substrate phosphorylation is when ADP is directly phosphorylated by a substrate into ATP using energy from a coupled reaction. There could be issues with glycolysis when the cell is lacking oxygen, shutting the process down. When glycolysis is shut down, fermentation occurs. The cell converts pyruvate to ethanol using NADH buildup to create NADH+. Aerobic respiration is far more efficient than fermentation due to the fact that it breaks down glucose molecules methodically to maximize the intake of energy and produces more ATP than fermentation.
The pyruvate produced from glycolysis is then oxidized into acetyl-CoA in 3 reactions that are catalyzed by a large enzyme complex called pyruvate dehydrogenase complex found in the mitochondrial matrix. First, the carboxyl group from pyruvate is removed and released as carbon dioxide, leaving behind 2-carbon hydroxyethyl still bound to the enzyme complex. The hydroxyethyl group from this compound is then oxidized to an acetyl group, while NAD+ is reduced to NADH in redox reaction. This enzyme-bound acetyl group is then transferred to coenzyme A, forming acetyl-CoA. Since 2 pyruvates are produced from 1 glucose molecule in glycolysis, each glucose molecule leads to 2 carbon dioxide, 2 NADH, and 2 acetyl-CoAs being formed in this step. Continuing in the mitochondrial matrix, the next process, the citric acid cycle, begins. Although the cycle doesn't directly require the use of oxygen, it's considered an aerobic process since lack of oxygen leads to glycolysis stopping, as previously explained, so pyruvate can't be produced and used in the citric acid cycle. Once the acetyl group in acetyl-CoA is transferred to oxaloacetate, citrate is formed and enters the citric acid cycle. Also known as the Krebs cycle, this process is a series of redox and decarboxylation reactions that remove carbon dioxide and high-energy electrons, which are transferred to NADH and FADH that are used in oxidative phosphorylation. Furthermore, like glycolysis, this process utilizes substrate phosphorylation to produce ATP. Since each glucose ultimately yields 2 citrates, there are 2 cycles which collectively produce 6 NADH, 2 FADH, 4 carbon dioxide, and 2 ATP for each glucose.
The electron transport chain is membrane proteins in the mitochondria and plasma membrane causing redox reactions. Electrons go from high to low energy levels through the chain. Using this energy, proteins are pumped, causing a protein gradient. Electrons come from NADH and FADH, earlier stages of cellular respiration. NADH transfers electrons directly leading to it becoming NAD+. FADH doesn't donate directly. However, both transfer electrons to ubiquitin, which is reduced, causing hydrogen ions to be pumped into the membrane. Electrons split O2 into 2 molecules of oxygen, and hydrogen ions form water.
In chemiosmosis, H+ ions diffuse from a high concentration of protons to a low concentration of protons through the membrane via the ATP synthase. The energy generated from this process allows ADP to phosphorylate, forming ATP.
And here's a live reenactment of it because I can't figure out how to put a voiceover over videos. I'm really sorry you have to watch this.